morning. I think we have a few folks joining us and numbers look like they're going up quickly. We'll just give that a moment, but we're very happy to have you join us on Wednesday, June 3rd. It is 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Greetings where we are, Bill Capsalis and yours truly, Steve Hoffman. Our special guest for this morning is Milton Zimmerman. I'm so honored. I know we both are honored to have Milton join our show, and he's dialing in from Central Time, and then all you folks on the East Coast, we're pleased to have you join us for Compass Coffee Talk.
Compass Coffee Talk.
There you go.
There you go, Milt.
There you go, Milt. All right, now listen, before we get started, folks, we want to take a moment as a group to acknowledge our frontline workers out there, everywhere, in healthcare, on the streets, in the natural food retail stores. We very much appreciate your service. And we also know there's a lot of things going on in our country right now. And we just want to say as a group, on behalf of all of us, is Black Lives Matter. And we wanted to take that moment. So thank you very much for allowing us to do so. It comes from our heart. Now we'd like to carry on because our industry is on the front line. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things going on in the last few months that we've been covering. And Milt, as the Executive Vice President for Presence Marketing, has certainly had quite the seat in terms of working with distributors, manufacturers, retailers, everyone in this industry who has been impacted and has responded really in heroic ways, not just in serving the public, but in looking to keep their businesses going and protect their workers. So we're very happy to have Milt on board. And before we get in, Bill, I just wanted to turn the floor to you, see if you had any welcoming comments to make.
Thanks, Steve. So, second to your opening comments, thanks for taking a moment to acknowledge what's happening right now out there in the world, and to thank our frontline coworkers. Really appreciate that. Super excited to hear Milt's thoughts on all things natural, organic, and food related, but also personally. Milt's a really interesting, great guy, and has been around for a long time, seen a lot of things come and go. Steve and I have a great deal of respect. We've talked about this several times, for Presence and the work that they do. And we know how much they help brands and retailers and just every one of us out there, even if we're not connected with a brand, understand the industry and try to find our place in it. So I'm just super happy to have Milt here. And maybe, Steve, if you're okay, I'll just toss it to Milt with a question. Hey, how you doing, Milt?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me on Coffee Talk. Before we get started, I want to know, are there any ground rules? I mean, no slurping, no dunking, no swearing. No, I'm just joking, of course.
We'll let you know if you got anything on your beard. We'll just do that.
There's a comment in the chat from Steve Eli. He says, hey, Milt, the brand name at the drugstore is Gillette. I don't know what that means, but it must be an internal joke.
Very funny, very funny. I've got the beard going here, as it relates to obviously what's been going on here the last 3 months. And it's the first time I've ever grown a beard in my life. And I actually really like it. My wife likes it, and everybody seems to like it.
No, it looks good.
After 62 years, I might just keep this beard. So
that looks good. I like it. I wish I could grow a beard. I can grow hair, but I can't.
I didn't think I could grow one, so I just went ahead and gave it a go, and was the result. So we've been working Presence Marketing and our newsletter in particular, have been working with Compass since 2013, and so it's really been a great partnership. And it's the ultimate in a symbiotic relationship. I really believe that you're good for us and we're good for you. And even though our paths have crossed for over 30 years, I mean, I remember Stephen Hoffman when he worked for Arrowhead Mills back in the day.
You were our broker.
It was you, it was Johnny Goodman, it was Jody Perkins. I mean, some really great guys. And
Mark Novak.
So, going way, way back. But bottom line is, we've done a lot of really cool stuff, and it's amazing because, you know, when this whole thing kind of hit with Expo West, um, we saw an opportunity to really inform our manufacturers and in turn, you know, our partners in the industry about what's going on. And Stephen, you and I have really worked well together, put together a series of articles. The first one was just kind of like what's going on in those first 30 days. After that, we had a bunch of interviews with some of our manufacturer partners. And this month, our newsletter is going to feature a piece on the supply side of things. So, and we've already got some thoughts for next month. So it's really been a great collaboration. Stephen, thank you very much. Bill, thank you for your partnership. It's been a lot of fun.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
So,
thank you, Milton.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you sort of alluded to this, but the theme of our talk today is the power of partnerships. And I know you've developed a lot of those in your career. So I know we're going to touch on that topic. So I'm glad you.
For sure. So just, you know, how am I doing? You know, it's interesting because this whole thing kind of, like I said before, started with Expo West being canceled. In those first couple of weeks, I think everybody was just kind of brushing themselves off. And, you know, the new reality, of course, hit us all. The reality that, you know, there's going to be 5 phases, the reality that everybody's supposed to shelter in place, the reality that our lives have changed and that COVID-19 is killing people, that people are dying, and it's not only individuals with immune deficiencies and, you know, underlying health issues, but it's definitely it's been a tidal wave, and it's also been a tidal wave of news, which of course, bottom line though is personally for myself, I've really taken stock and taken time to think about myself, my mental health, my physical health, and, you know, of course, the health of the individuals in my family. And I worked very, very hard to try to find a silver lining. You know, I have worn out 2 pairs of shoes just with the cardio that I have done through this entire process. Just to give you guys a quick idea, right now I'm averaging, this week, I'm averaging 18,000 steps a day. So I've worn out 2 pairs of shoes, and I'm not going to show you my shoes right now, but this pair has almost got a flat tire. And so
18,000 steps a day. Well, I would say that you're walking the talk, Milt.
I am walking, and my buddies, okay, so check this out. My buddies have actually taken their garage. They've been garbage picking weights for the last 5 years, and they retrofitted their garage, and they've made it into a gym. And so I just came from my workout, and it's called, I don't know if you can see this, Pandemic Performance. Nice. Is what they've got a logo and everything. And so, and we're socially distancing. I mean, you know, we're lifting weights, only 2 guys allowed in the garage at a time. So, but bottom line is, you know, it's been a lot of exercise, keeping busy, you know, a lot of family time. My dogs, I have 2 older dogs, and, you know, I'm almost like their service human, if you will. They've just loved it. I walk them every morning. I've really tried to find a silver lining in this whole thing, and you know, the world around us has changed, and so for all of us, we just kind of need a change with it. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, you think about, you know, how this came upon us, and you know, I don't know about you guys, but I never anticipated something like this, or something so big, such a tidal wave, and so, but it's happened time and time again in history. And so good things have come out of pandemics and health issues, and you know, obviously sanitation issues. I mean, you know, you think about it, and you know, over time, you know, cholera and typhoid gave us modern system, and you know, polluted rivers in Europe gave us Pilsner beers, which is one of my favorite things. So, you know, at the end game, you know, I'm not really sure how it's all going to pan out, and you know, I'm not going to be you know, prognosticate exactly how it's all going to work out. But what I do know is at the end of the day, if we all work together, good things can come from this as well.
That's great. It's really well said. So I know you don't want to predict anything in the second half of the year, but kind of advice would you give for brands as they kind of navigate through these times right now? And you've seen 3 months of it now, and we're staring down the barrel of the rest of the year sort of being really different. And how do partnerships play a role in that navigation right now?
So that's a great question. So first of all, we're so blessed again because we're in the natural grocery business.
Yeah.
And so, and our stores, our grocery stores are an oasis. It's, grocery stores, liquor stores, different type, obviously your local CVS or Walgreens as well, remain open and are essential to our well-being. And, but obviously for what we do, our stores are an oasis. And so that's not going away. That's going to continue for some time now. And we're going to be staying at home more. We're going to be cooking home cooked meals. Obviously the commodity type items that we sell like rice and flour, eggs and butter are in very high demand and remain in high demand. So that's going to continue. It's interesting because a lot of people are making home improvements right now because they realize they're not going on a Euro vacation this year. They're going to be staying home. What can I do to take better care of my house? What can I do to re-landscape? Let's make our backyard our Disneyland. And so it's amazing if you go to stores that are selling, whether it's little, pools or just landscaping type items, they're being hit and they're being hit hard.
Mm-hmm. I know I'm guilty of that. I'm a gardener and it gives me peace of mind.
I saw. So, so in any case, so, it's this first 90 days was quite a spike, especially, the first month or so. And it really put a lot of strain on the supply chain. I would hope that through communication and through planning and through understanding the challenges and the opportunities that between our manufacturer partners to our retail partners to our consumers and of course distributors and brokers in between, that will continue to work hard. The first 90 days taught us an awful lot. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because what a lot of business units do is they create kind of a playbook. I remember like 5-6 years ago, Eric Newman from Organic Valley telling me that Organic Valley had a playbook in case their headquarters ever caught fire. Uh-huh. And sure enough, within a year, their headquarters caught fire.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yes, but they had a playbook. And talk about a business that's like an air traffic controller. Mm-hmm. They've got farmers, they've got production. The eggs come to market, they got to make it to the stores. So they were able to pretty much work. I don't know that we really had a playbook. I don't think in our business we really had a playbook. So when we look to the future, and of course, they're trying to predict what's going to happen next. There's I think 3 basic theories that it's going to be small waves. There's the Groundhog Day scenario, and then there's the monster spike again in October. And so I would anticipate that now that we've made it through these first 90 days, we'll have just a much better feel for how to react regardless of how the pandemic plays out.
It usually in the summertime, and just like, again, we lost really, suddenly overnight, half of the food expenditure in food service is now everything shifted to grocery. And that business is gone. Now we see, people were eating out all summer, really, and that may not be happening so much. I know people are venturing out, but where retailers may have seen a summer slump, will they be seeing one this summer? And how are they prepping for that right now?
So, that's a great question. So, as far as the growing fields go, the farmers who are growing the crops, the ones who were growing crops specifically for food service had to destroy a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And then again, on the flip side, there's been certain types of products that are on allocation because there wasn't enough for the grocery side of things. So we're trying to figure that whole thing out. It's a big science experiment right now. I mean, it's interesting. I live in Chicago, and the state of Wisconsin opened up, and a lot of people I know went running up to Wisconsin because they could drink in those bars and eat in those restaurants suddenly. And I think everybody's just scratching their heads.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on in Denver and Boulder, but I mean, there's a curiosity to see if it's what's going to happen this summer, whether we're going to open our schools. I know we're questioning whether the local pool is going to be open, whether the lakefront is going to be opened over here. A lot of summer camps have been closed. And so, I don't really know that we know. In the city of Chicago today, they've just moved into phase 3. So there's outdoor seating in restaurants. So that's the next step. And, of course, we've been trying to support our restaurants. But I think the reality of it is until everybody really understands it and really knows, it's still going to be stay close to your home base.
Yeah.
Euro vacations are canceled. Maybe a trip to some state park is still, and a picnic at the park is still a possibility. But, the reality of it is that it's still very much stay close to home. And, one thing I want to talk a little bit about too is empathy and compassion. For me, I'm so blessed. I've got a great wife. I got a great family. I obviously am able to socialize. I got a great opportunity to work with people. But there's a lot of people out there who right now are isolated, who going into this were suffering from depression, addiction. They had anxiety issues. And this has made it so very, very hard for them. And, when I think about my lot and I think about how positive my life remains, even in light of everything that's going on, my heart really goes out to these individuals, and I want to figure out a way that I can be of service to our community on that level as well. The state of individuals' mental health within our community is in crisis mode. And, I know we have a lot of crises going on right now, just watch the nightly news, but that's kind of a quiet crisis right there.
Well, Milt, you bring something up there, and there are certainly products in natural foods that might help with that. Certainly in the CBD area, and I wonder if there's some drive to get it to people that need it, because I think you're right, and there's a silent thing going on out there.
I'll take that even a step further for you, Stephen, and that's we sell the good stuff, and individuals who are struggling with this pandemic a lot of times are suffering from issues that are often brought on by poor nutrition, eating too much fast food, high fructose corn sweetener, living in food deserts. And so what we're so fortunate is that we're in the right place. A lot of the underlying, the diabetes, the obesity, the heart disease, the respiratory diseases have to do with poor nutrition. So no, we're really in the queue. We're in the right place, certainly. Now
you bring that up, and that's really interesting with this whole disease. There's a whole renewed focus on immunity and health. I'm hoping that actually makes Americans more aware of salt and fat and sugar and how much of that intake there's going in.
So, and then there's one more thing. There's another crisis going on, and that's the crisis in healthcare. And so here we are. Are we the wealthiest country in the world? I mean, yeah. And yet we have a substandard healthcare system. Certainly, if you can afford the best health, you can get it. But there's rural hospitals that are going to go out of business. Yeah. There's a lot of venture capitalists. I always thought hospitals were owned by religions. You have the Lutheran hospital, the Catholic hospital, the Jewish hospital. You certainly, may have had the university hospitals, but there's a lot of venture capitalists who've gotten into this business. And I am freaked out. My daughter is right now in grad school in the bedroom next door, and she goes to Rush University. And a lot of her friends became nurses, and they're on the front lines. and they had their salaries cut by 20% 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Here we live in America, so, our media, who, is constantly freaking us out and scaring us, are they doing enough to do two things: to tell us about the health crisis from poor nutrition, or the health crisis because of these healthcare providers? And what can we do in this country now to redo our playbook and to get back in line and provide better services for the wealthiest country in the world?
Yeah. Hey, Milton, I want to pop in here. We have a couple of questions that have come up, one in the chat and one in the Q&A. If you're okay taking them right now, that would be great.
As long as they're easy questions.
Well, I'll leave that up to you. So Claire writes in, Milton, do you anticipate this health pandemic as an impetus for consumers to seek more higher volume of natural products and made in USA products? We were just kind of talking about that, and I think
yes.
And is there room to intro new products now? So that's a classic.
So that's a great question. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's like a third part to that, which are they hunkering down and just sort of sticking with known brands? And I'll leave you with that. And then there's another question coming.
Boy, I can only handle one thing.
Yeah, give them that first right now, Billy.
Yeah, okay, so the demand is up for healthier stuff for sure, but what about the new product intros right now? What are you seeing?
That's a great question. And this might not be the right time to start a new brand. Okay, if you're an entrepreneur, this might not be the best time. There's all kinds of different things that relate to that. But we're still meeting with our buyers on a regular basis. And, if you were to ask me, how's it going? I tell you that it's going good. It depends from buyer to buyer. But for buyers who are buying categories that are hot right now, like baking and everything like that, they're looking at new items, but it has to have a reason to meet, what they're looking for. So if there's, demand, obviously, because, obviously we're very data driven, it might have spiked the category as well. So they can't really get a good read on what's selling and what's not selling, because everything is selling in certain categories. So, new products, yes, by all means. And just remember now, a lot of the meetings we're having right now are for 6 months from now. And who knows what's going on for 6 months from now. So if you are bringing new items, and there's a reason to be, yes, by all means, you should continue to bring promotions and you should continue to bring new items. And again, if it's initiatives, if these are products that are healthy and that, are in categories, like right now, certain categories are obviously slumping. But if they're in categories where there's anticipated growth, buyers are definitely taking a look at that.
Wow, that's awesome. And I'll pop the second question in, which came in the Q&A from Rob. Last month, I lost my job at a small natural food company. Sales are actually up, but the company was unable to raise capital to keep a full sales team in place. Have you seen this situation in other small companies? What's your sort of read on that right now?
Yes, and that's an issue right now. Things were a year ago, things were so hot. And, but right now, I mean, if you're in the business of investing money, you're kind of like, if you've got the liquidity to do that, you're kind of in the driver's seat. The manufacturers were kind of in the driver's seat a year ago, or were negotiating with a lot more leverage. But right now, there's definitely been a tone down as far as that thing goes. As far as presence marketing goes, I'm very proud to say that we're so fully engaged still, and our people are working harder than ever. And we talk to so many manufacturers who basically have been shelter in place and been working from home for 3 months now, and everybody is just super busy. Unfortunately, though, this isn't the best time to be looking for a new job.
That brings up a question that we've got brought up here, and it says, last month, I lost my job at a small natural food company. Sales are actually up, but the company was unable to raise capital to keep a full sales team.
Yeah.
Have you seen this situation at other small companies?
Yeah. I mean, yes. basically, just like everything is under stress and under strain, cash flow is strained too. And your company might be doing great, but you need money for operations and production. You need raw materials. And so for some companies, they obviously have harvested some money from certain areas within, whether it's taking away an expensive marketing program, or figuring out ways. Obviously, there's not too many trade shows going on right now, so taking money from trade like that. Unfortunately, there might be a few individuals who are victims of downsizing.
Yeah.
As well.
We did feature Diana Mercer from Force Brands talking about the job hunt right now for careers in natural foods. There's also a blog on compassnatural.com, Finding Your Green Dream Job. There are resources out there, and there are companies that are looking because they are selling more than ever. So where one may be closing a door, there may be another opening, and it's just a period of such transition right now. But I know one of the manufacturers we talked to, Milton, that makes, pasta and other pantry items, mentioned to us that in the first time in 25 years, they saw their warehouse empty. Those folks are looking to expand. So I think, again, looking at resources like Luke's Circle, Natural Products Industry Jobs, check out the blog that I put out, because we get a lot of questions about that. And I actually think it's timely for right now, too.
So, I mean, just like with any challenge, there's opportunity, and it's so much about where your head's at and how you think about stuff.
Agree.
And so, just in these types of situations, you need to sit down, you need to figure out, now, how do I pivot? How do I take advantage of these challenges and redefine my business? And so, the smart ones are doing that very much so.
Yeah.
And, there's I just saw something about how e-commerce is just some incredible numbers in the month of April. So I suppose, what can I do to continue to work with e-commerce if I'm already there, or get more involved with it if I'm starting to stick my toe in the water?
Yeah, we have a comment that came in, and then I want to just do a time check. You guys were, we're pushing up to our 30 minutes, but I'm happy to go a little over, Milton, if you can. But first, there was just a big kudos, thank you from the Good Crisp team. You guys are active and engaged during this time, and they were really happy to have the partnership. So a little thank you from your team there. And
Good Crisp.
Yeah.
Good Crisp. And then, oh wait, the coffee you guys sent me, that KG blend.
Yeah, the Das
KGB.
The KGB.
Yeah.
That's some serious. Am I allowed to swear on this show?
That's some damn good.
That's some good shit, man. That is some really good coffee.
Yeah.
I start my day every day with a quadruple espresso and some foam milk. And so I had some of that this morning, and I'm telling you, man, I'm good to go.
Well, there's a shout out to Das Bog, our sponsor. And their local Boulder company, right? Bill Das Bog. They do the Russian branding thing. So you got the KGB blend, which is really all organic, which is our core. We love that.
That is really good coffee. And it's funny because there's a Pete's 2 blocks from here that's been closed for the last 2 months, and it's finally starting to open up again. So we've kind of been stuck drinking, nothing against Starbucks, but we've been stuck drinking, some of the less flavorful coffees.
Well, you know where to find more. We have another question for you here from Harry H. How do you see the sales in natural food co-ops? Are mostly groceries selling, or is there also an uptake in the wellness and houseware departments?
Good question.
Kind of 2 questions there, right?
Yeah. So as far as our brothers and sisters with NCG and the co-ops, they're doing great. And, it's interesting. You think about how this year started. This year started with Lucky's going out of business, basically, or filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Fairway filing for bankruptcy. And now suddenly, along in March, comes the pandemic, And all these, if Lucky's had stayed open, they would have been okay. They would have probably been I suppose they were kind of unlucky to close.
Yikes.
But bottom line is, as far as I can see, almost all of our retail units, all boats rise, and so everybody's sales have gone up. We've worked very, very closely with NCG. Obviously, we continue to, and we've watched as their sales have grown just like everybody else's has. So, as far as health and wellness goes, there's certain parts of health and wellness and housewares that are doing well. Like we talked a little bit about before, individuals are starting to really care about their houses and seeing what they can do to maybe, to bring on some new pots and pans, or, a new coffee maker, since I'm spending so much time at home right now. As far as wellness goes, what can I do to really get my immune system very, very strong? I know I have been doing that as well. As far as body care goes, people are very taking a lot of care to make sure that they're washing their hands and they're staying very clean. So
Yeah, hard to keep up with
any
hand soap out there.
There's like any category though, there's some stuff that's a little up, and there's some stuff that's a little bit down. Obviously gas station sushi is really down. Baking and rice and spirits are all very much up.
Yeah, I know we're making bread. Hey, I know we're pushing up against 30 minutes here, just 31 minutes, and I thought maybe we would jump down to the bottom of our question list here, Milton, because I know when we talked to you prior to our call today that we wanted to just sort of touch in with you and kind of find out, what have you learned about yourself, and you want to share some insights with others during this time. I know you've had some insightful comments to say about that, and so I thought
so I talked a little bit about some of the negative stuff, and obviously the crisis that we have with healthcare and mental health. Two of the more fun or dynamic things is, first of all, I can grow a beard, and I really like it, and you learn something about yourself.
Yeah.
And so people have told me that I look a little bit like Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Okay.
So that, and you know what, it's interesting, after all these years of going into the office at least 3 to 4 times a week, I realized that I love working from home. That I've got this, this is a bedroom that I've converted into an office, and I get out of bed every morning and I take the dogs out and we hang out. I read my phone and I see what's going on in the world. I make myself a delicious quadruple espresso with some foamed milk, and then we feed the dogs. I walk the dogs, and I get down to work here. And you know what? When this is all over, I question how much I will really be going back into the office. I wonder. I know I will keep an office, but it just might now be once a week or twice a week. But I feel very comfortable working from home, and my productivity. I live in Evanston, Illinois, and our office is in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So it's a bit of a schlep. It's about 50 minutes. So I might just, free up that time. Obviously, I've been taking the time to go and walk and really enjoy the great outdoors. So I'll continue to do that. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying just hanging out here and working here and taking advantage of working from home.
Yeah. And do you want to provide some insights for people? Like, what advice would you give those of us who, have worked from home on and off for years now, or have been in offices? Just any insights you can share about, for others that they might want to think about, tips and techniques that you've used.
So, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is as I work, I'll go eat lunch and I'll leave my desk. It's funny, when I was in the office, I always would eat my lunch like that. It's kind of like when I was in the office, I basically would close my door and work so I wouldn't be disturbed. That's what I do here anyhow. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is I love to cook and bake. And I pulled the walkout for the first time in 10 years, and I've made stir fry 2 weeks in a row. I have made challah bread probably for 20 years, and I've made it now about 6, 7 times.
You're part of the baking trend now.
I'm baking. And you know, when you make really good bread, you let it rise, and then you and then you let it rise.
It fills the house with that aroma.
Exactly. And you know, if I'm at home, I'm able to do that, and that's a really healthy diversion. And then, you know, fortunately for us, our twin daughters live within walking distance of where we live. I'll make them loaves. You know, we'll have some loaves, and we've really worked hard to find the silver lining here and to really enjoy each other's company. I'm blessed to have a great wife who I get along with. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really, you know, where we go from here. All I know is, you know, I've got a nice little corner of the world. So.
You know, Milton, we didn't get to kind of how brokers really, I think they're more important than ever right now. I know we're getting short on time, so I wonder if you could give us kind of maybe an elevator on that. And also, Presence Marketing does one of the best street level news pieces for decision makers out there in the industry. How can our folks that have tuned in here maybe sign up for that newsletter? Is there a way?
Yeah. So, so as far as the newsletter goes, you know, email Steve, email me, and we'll put you on the distribution list. That's a simple one.
Cool.
So,
and I'll list my email right here while we're talking.
Okay. And then, you know, as far as, you know, presence marketing in the broker community, and so when it's a sunny day, there's a lot that does happen. There's challenges. Throw turbulence in there, like we've just seen in the last 3 months, and things get really exciting. And it's so much really about partnerships. It's so much about when you have a situation where a manufacturer is forced to go on allocation, or there's some service levels that are not up to the standards that are established. That's when, you know, partnerships really come into play. And of course, a great broker is a great conduit, a great communicator. And I think at the end of the day, if you were to ask me what's the most important thing when it comes to this kind of thing, my answer would be communication. You know, at the end of the day, our distributors want to know, our retailers want to know, our manufacturers want to know. Everybody wants to know what's going on. When can we expect this? What's the long term? What's the short term? What's going on? And so the greatest tool of all is still right at our fingertips, and that's our ability to communicate and communicate effectively.
Milt Ed Boissevane, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly.
Ed Boissevane.
He says he can attest to how wonderful it is to work with you, and that you are the voice of reason in our business.
Right.
So really glad to have all these folks. There are some other wonderful comments here. Yeah. I think you've been well received, and we really appreciate your time with us today. So thank you very much. I think that we've run over a good amount. So Bill, if you're okay, Milt, if you're okay, I think we want to thank our sponsor, Das Bog, right? We have a bag to give away. And I want to give it to, and I'm totally biased, judge and panel of one. I would like to give this Coffee Talk bag of Das Bog coffee to Dr. Felicia Dawson. She's a medical doctor working down in Atlanta, Georgia, graduate of Emory University. I had the great good fortune of being on a panel with her at ShiftCon with a bunch of great influencers out there. And Dr. Dawson is helping actually teach people about the health benefits of hemp and CBD. So Dr. Dawson, you want a bag of coffee.
Yep.
Milton, thank you so much for being a part of this. I will attest that you are also awesome to work with now, going more than 25 years collaborating.
Nice. Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me on. It's been my honor. Thank you.
You're awesome.
And
man.
to my co-host, Bill Capsalis, thank you very much. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining us for Compass Coffee Talk.
Thanks, Steve. Take care, Milton.